So lastly, I want to talk about some case studies of some students that were very successful in my mind, not necessarily always just the top schools, but I just wanted to give you kind of like a little bit of like a range here in terms of students who got into some pretty good universities and maybe a little bit about their background so you kind of know what to shoot for in terms of your own goals, right? So we have before we do that, just as a kind of a way to look at the success rate that we had, like HS2 really prides itself on having the best results every single year, right? And this past year, we had very good success, especially for top universities. We had like 5 students get into Stanford, another 4 got into Harvard, and even for a lot of the UCs, right? So the UCs are getting much harder these days, but we happen to get 64 of our students into UC Berkeley and another 47 into UCLA, right? So this track record we're especially proud of because we know what it takes to get into these top schools, and we really try to get our students every single opportunity to be much more competitive. All right, so the first case study here is a student who had a 3.78 GPA. Okay, so not necessarily the highest, and in fact, this student's grades took a dip in 11th grade, right? So this student got 7 Bs in 11th grade. The weighted GPA is still not bad, which means that the student took some pretty challenging courses, but this student decided to go test optional because he or she didn't have a high enough SAT score relative to the schools that they were trying for, right? So they took some pretty advanced math classes actually, right? So multivariable calculus and linear algebra at a local community college. And some of the interesting things about the student's profile is that they were the founder and president of their school's bridge club. This is not the making the bridges that you cross a river with, but like the card game bridge, right? The student was also a badminton varsity player, participated in quiz bowl, math club, and participated in the Ross summer program for math, but also served as an editor-in-chief for their school newspaper for journalism, right? So very diverse activities. So even if the grades weren't necessarily a highlight and the student didn't even have any test scores, the activities, in my opinion, looked pretty strong, right? And so fortunately, because the student did show that he or she had a lot of passion for these various activities, especially for math, right? So very high level for math. This student actually got into UC Berkeley, even with the 7 Bs, which I thought was quite the accomplishment considering how competitive Berkeley was last year, okay? This next student, perfect 4.0 GPA, 4.5 weighted, SAT score, not bad, pretty solid actually at a 1530, right? So the profile of the student though, very well-rounded, was a varsity soccer player, both for the school team and a club soccer team, served as the class treasurer, also did an earth science summer internship at Stanford, which is pretty impressive, volunteered at a local Kaiser hospital, had a part-time job as a cashier, but also took part in a lot of different environmental activism groups. So overall, the student was applying as an environmental science major. And this student actually got into Stanford, which made sense given what I told you earlier about Stanford actually opening up that new school for like sustainability and climate, right? So they're looking for more students now who are interested in these types of fields. So as actually like a perfect alignment of like her interests matched what Stanford was looking for. So it's sometimes knowing what the school is looking for that could give you that edge, okay? This last student we're going to take a look at, also great GPA 4.0. The weighted GPA may be slightly slower than the last one, but had a 1580. So this student, just a total rock star across the board. Editor-in-chief of the school paper, did an internship with a city council member to conduct research on like solutions for the homeless problem in their city. The student was a leader in the school district's anti-racism task force, president of mock trial, served as a juror in the city's peer court. They'll usually have these youth courts where instead of like students going to juvie, they would have like students serving as the lawyers and also as the jury, right? And so he or she participated in that, but it was also fairly talented and artistic, right? So also had piano and flute and was also an athlete. Played in the school badminton team. So this student actually was able to get into Harvard for regular decision. Okay, so overall, these are some pretty impressive students, but as you can see here, some of the key factors here is that you see that these students are very passionate. They do a lot of community or outreach service or things to do with their cities, for instance, right? They're very passionate about like certain causes. And I think that's what colleges are looking for these days. Not just that you're good on paper, but you look like the type of person who could be a difference maker, not just in their college, but when you graduate from their college as well. And I think that's what set, especially the last two students, case 2 and case 3. Okay. All right.